studio. Ever since I've known him, in fact, he's been in his studio 7 days a week. He starts at a certain time. He walks from his apartment on 15th Street on the east side over to the west side, and in between he'll stop off at the farmer's market and get lunch, get his loaf of bread, something to make a nice soup, and he makes soup for his employees, and has nice cheeses and all sorts of good things. And he's there every day till 6 o'clock.
He paints every day.
Every day. Every day. He and Emily spend a little time on a Saturday and go to openings. They might go to some museums on Sunday afternoons. But he's there. He's a committed artist, and that's all he's ever known. So in these days especially, it's so important for him to get as much working time in as possible without any interruption.
Well, Wolf, that's a nice segue into spending a few minutes talking about our history together, which dates back to 1978. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, well, I remember you were a curator then for the Mint Museum.
I was.
And you came to New York to collect paintings that people were giving away as tax deductions. In those days, you could do that.
Yes.
And I think you got half a dozen paintings of mine or something like that. By that time, you asked me to have a show.
Yes.
And you had those paintings in your van, and the van got broken into. We lost those 6 paintings, and then you went to Detective Volpe from the New York Police Department, who's the art theft detective.
Yes.
Specialist, yeah. And Volpe asked you, he says, "Are these paintings very expensive?" And as my prices were then, they were rather cheap, And you said no. And then Volpe asked him, "Well, are they pretty?" And you said yes, much to my distaste, because you're not supposed to be pretty, But anyway, my paintings, I suppose, were pretty. And so Volpe said, "Well, if they're not expensive and they're pretty, you'll never see them again."
And this is our 15th exhibition together.
Good Lord, I can't even remember that far back.
There are so many people who love your work, Wolf, and love you. It's a real privilege to have you here again, and for me to have the opportunity to show these early works. The first painting of yours I ever saw was one of those great paintings from the 60s, and it bowled me over then, and it does still to this day.
Well, I'm glad it does, and I must say I'm a lot less nervous about this painting, seeing them hanging here with fancy frames around them, than I was when I had them in my studio at the time,
Wolf, thank you for taking this time with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me down and treating me so well and making all this fuss around me.
You're worth it.
Good.